Tyson Foods joins Caterpillar and Boeing in ditching Chicago amid huge crime wave under woke Mayor Beetlejuice. Who could have predicted this would happen? Tyson Foods has become the latest company to shutter its Chicago area offices in response to rampant crime seen under regressive Mayor Beetlejuice, joining Boeing, Caterpillar, and several others to turn tail and flee the windy shitty. And I love how they're going to then try to spin it as these evil companies abandoning us. Like, bitch, you drove them out. The chicken giant made a bombshell announcement Wednesday revealing it's bringing together its corporate offices or employees at its global headquarters in Arkansas and closing down 3 of its offices, including one in downtown Chicago. The 2 others include locations nearby Downers Grove, a suburb just outside of the Shady, and Dakota Dunes in South Dakota. Why would you close the South Dakota one down? Maybe it's just because of lack of people there. I don't know. Roughly 1,000 employees work in 3 locations collectively. Relocation will begin early next year. Tyson CEO Donnie King. Yeah, Don King? Oh my God. Don King, the CEO of Chicken Giant Tyson in Chicago. Are you guys trying to get me in trouble? Just reporting on this story? Why the hell are all the pieces falling into place like this? So bringing our talented corporate team members and businesses together under one roof unlocks greater opportunities and shared perspectives and ideas. No, what it does is it reduces your corporate real estate fees. That's what it does. While also enabling us to act quickly to solve problems and provide the innovative products and solutions our customers deserve and value, the executive said. You make chicken. The official did not cite any further reasons for the sudden move, which comes in the latest blow to the embattled Shitty's dwindling image under Mayor Beetlejuice, who assumed office just before the crime wave begun in late current year -3, and has only made things worse since. McDonald's, which opened a $250 million headquarters in the Shitty in current year -4 after being headquartered there from 1955 to 71 last month, criticized the Shitty for crime. At the time, CEO Chris Kempinski, there we go, panned the Shitty's crime situation, saying it's seeping into every corner of our Shitty and asking onlookers what's going on in Chicago. McDonald's has said that it's staying in Chicago, but for companies such as Boeing, Caterpillar, and Citadel, that's not the case. And with all announcing plans to move out of Chicago in recent months, just 3 years into the Shitty's unprecedented crime wave. That's because they know they can't trust the government to do anything, so they have to leave. Chicago's richest billionaire, Ken Griffin, who heads the hedge fund Citadel, brought a record-breaking $106.9 million waterfront estate in Miami upon announcing his plan to move his more than 1,000 staffers from their office in the crime-ridden metropolis. Man, where's Batman when you need him? All right, so the company has been located in the Illinois area for at least 3 decades, but left due to escalating crime and violence. Construction manufacturer Caterpillar is also in the process of moving its Deerfield offices in the suburb just outside the Shitty to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Just keep your politics out of it. Yeah, one problem I have is when these companies, they shut down their blue city offices and they move to a red city or a red state, they move a lot of those blue voters with them. Aircraft giant Boeing moved from Seattle to Chicago in current year -21, and this May announced it was moving again, this time to Arlington, Virginia. Tyson, meanwhile, said the move out of the Shitty was not related to crime. It's related to Beetlejuice. Officials from both parties have slammed lawlessness seen in the Shitty since the pandemic. After a 700-page safety campaign in fairness and equity today law, championed by Beetlejuice, instituted a host of criminal justice reforms in Illinois, including an end of cash bail in January. That made things better. It came as crime in Chicago spiked during the riots by burn, loot, murder supporters and the defund the police movement in the aftermath of the current year -2 overdose of George Kirby, with the city recording its deadliest year in decades in current year -1 with 797 slayings. Beetlejuice, an African-American regressive who slashed $59 million from her Shitty's police budget in current year -2, but performed an abrupt about-face on the policy in current year -1 amid increasing crime. And yet she'll refuse to accept any blame. Her championing of regressive policies has put her in the crosshairs of conservative critics across the country who claim the guidance breeds more crime by allowing repeat offenders back on the street without need to pay bail. Well, there's no point in bail anymore when you got organizations dedicated to bailing out all criminals. So, with that said, the city of Chicago's police department has also been increasingly at odds with Beetlejuice, a Democrat who's publicly supported defund the police movement after the overdose of George Kirby in current year -2 and slashed the budget by $59 million. Beetlejuice has since denounced the defund the police movement, backtracking last August after the shooting death of Officer Ella French earlier that month, unveiling a new plan to ironically refund the police. Now, when are these idiots going to be held accountable for all the damage they've done? Never. That's the answer. The very next month, September of last year, Beetlejuice unveiled a $16.7 billion spending plan on Monday that boosted the funding of the department, lifting the Chicago Police Department's annual budget to $1.9 billion from $1.7 billion. The plan relied on federal money to help dig the shitty out of a deficit that reached new heights during Beetlejuice's time in office to $73 million, and outlined prospective funding for new community programs. Beetlejuice asserted will help the troubled shady pull through ongoing pandemic and just preventing issues of gun violence and crime. Have you tried not voting Democrat next time? Because the city keeps electing Democrats and their problems keep getting worse. Oh, it must be the Republicans' fault. At the time, Beetlejuice asserted that to attendees of a conference discussing the proposed changes that we have to make sure we are continuing to provide resources to recruit the next generation of police officers and make sure we're doing that recruitment in a way that reflects the diversity of the city. Oh, you just want to fail. All right, roughly a year later, violent crimes are still up across the board in Chicago, especially compared to prior to the pandemic, around the time Beetlejuice was sworn into office. According to the latest statistics from Chicago Police Department, the crimes are still on the rise in Chicago after crime in both current year -1 and 2 surged to heights not seen in decades. Murders are up a whopping 32% since current year -3 before the pandemic inspired an influx of crime to plague the shitty streets, with 425 killings recorded since the start of the year compared to 319 in current year -3. Murders had fallen slightly since current year -2, however, during the peak of the pandemic, which saw 485. And current year -1, the shitty's murder rate jumped to a high not seen in a quarter of a century, reaching 519, the most since the mid-90s. Since then, murders have trickled down slightly by 17%, but theft, robbery, and overall crime are all well up from last year, one of the worst crime-wise in city history. Small crimes such as theft have surged since last year by a whopping 61% from last year, and robberies by a similar 17%. Yeah, of course. If you refuse to punish the people that do this, what do you think is going to happen? Gun violence, meanwhile, arguably the shady's most pressing and prevailing issue, has slowed from 2,755 shootings to 2,218. The rate of crimes committed by armed offenders, however, has increased dramatically since the start of the pandemic. Through last Sunday, Chicago's 523 homicides came as a 32% jump from the same period in current year -2 or 3, when 397 people were Minecrafted. When compared to a Minecrafting scene in current year -3 before the shitty's unprecedented crime wave, the rate of gun violence increase is most visible, rising by an even more concerning 35%. Hey, but if you just vote for Beetlejuice for a second term, she'll fix it. So officials, including Beetlejuice, have promised to quell the crime epidemic that they caused, but have proven largely unsuccessful despite the abrupt change in policy when it comes to policing. The statistic illustrates the shitty's failure to recover following the initial spread of Corona Chan, with homeless encampments and open-air drug markets becoming commonplace on streets the last 2 years. I can see that. That recent gravitation towards remote work, coupled with mass firings while saving money for big tech, left small business in the region struggling as they rely on the presence of now absent workers to turn a profit. Hey, just pay the criminals to not commit crime. That'll work. That, coupled with rampant inflation, homelessness, and a lack of jobs, has thrown the shitty into further unrest. We have violent crime that's happening in our restaurants. We're seeing homeless issues in our restaurants. McDonald's CEO Chris Kempinski said in a scathing mid-September speech that criticized Chicago brass for the shitty's current state and how it's scaring away businesses and companies. We're having drug overdoses that are happening in our restaurants. The executive sniped at the time. We see our restaurants every single day. What's happening in society at large. Tyson, meanwhile, has felt the effects of inflation in its recent earnings reports and high taxes. The company said that demand for chicken is extremely strong, and demand for its higher priced cuts of meat, such as beef, has lessened. Consequently, average sales price for chicken grew during its most recent quarter, while the average price of beef and pork fell as consumers shied away from the costly cuts. It comes as consumers have shifted their eating habits due to inflation. Tyson plans to launch new lower-priced options and also add new larger package sizes for consumers searching for value. Shares of Tyson are down by 25%. Ooh. Well, they might go up if they leave Chicago.